This is Justin Arnett Graham.
This is Nariba Shepherd. And this is Terms of Service.
Bam! That's beautiful. And also, good morning.
Good morning.
Because we're doing this good morning thing again. And it's how are you feeling?
It makes me feel like a time where I would sleep for a couple of hours and then wake up at the crack of ass to crack eggs for people.
Okay.
Except I don't have to do that. I'm just where it would happen.
Okay, got it.
So
okay.
It's like, it feels like I'm at brunch, but I'm not responsible for anything.
It feels very existential.
Yeah.
All right, well,
yeah.
Well, good morning on that.
Yeah. How about you? How you doing?
I'm very well. I'm well. I have no complaints, but if I did, we ain't got time for them. So it's entirely all good.
Mm-hmm.
We have another guest.
Yes, we do.
And I'm really excited about this one. Hi, Thomas.
Hey, buddies.
How are you?
I'm good.
Great. If you would like to introduce yourself, and we'll get into the topic and the topics at hand.
All right. My name's Thomas Mooneyham. I'm the local or Chicago brand ambassador for Dewar's Scotch and the 5 single malts that go into them. Amazing. I primarily look after the single malts.
Yes.
Great.
And I also cover different parts of the Midwest, but due to company-wide travel restrictions over the last year or so, those have...
You don't say.
I know, it's kind of weird, right?
It's just like, there was the thing that, as Ryan Pfeiffer mentioned,
a pterodactyl.
The pterosaur.
Well, yes,
the
pterosaur is the overarching term
right.
for winged dinosaur.
Correct.
I am actually growing a pterodactyl right now.
I have no idea what that means.
Okay, so for my birthday, which was last week,
Happy
or
belated
whenever,
birthday.
it's time. Thank you.
Happy
anyway.
Were you fishing for that?
No. Oh my God, we have a whole thing about that. Don't you worry about it. I love you. But I got one of those grow your own things, and it's a pterodactyl, but it grows to 600% of its size.
And the size of a pterodactyl?
No. So like it started off like, let's say, how many inches is this?
Okay. So if
Enough?
it's like, if it's like the size of like a larger gummy bear, it would get 600.
Yeah, but it's in like a 2-gallon size peanut butter pretzel jar.
Okay.
And it is day 9, so tomorrow's the last day it grows for 10 days. So yeah, we've been in a panini with the pterodactyl for like 10 days now.
For a second, because it is early, I thought you meant somebody gave you like a gift the size of a pterodactyl.
I fucking
that's
wish.
Going to grow to be like the size of a Boeing 747.
Oh my God, that made me feel uncomfortable.
And that actually sounds like one of the worst gifts.
Like when you said that, I thought about the same fear that I have for whales. Where if I imagine a whale being in the same space as me, I freak out because they're too big. They breathe water. Why are they mammals? The ocean is terrifying. I'm done.
You're a land-based creature.
Yes,
though, so
100%.
like you're good.
I am.
Well,
I'm from an island.
Fair.
Yeah.
So
fair.
There is that.
Yeah.
Well, again, hi Thomas.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, that was
a lot of this is going to be edited. I assume.
Oh,
no,
yeah,
they
actually,
never ramble me out.
It's just one rolling take. So
you know what? Let's go.
It's fine.
One shot.
We do this every episode, and I think that it's become a bit of our tradition now.
Yeah.
What's your sign?
I'm a Cancer.
Nariba.
And like very, very, very much so a Cancer.
So what I know about a
June or
Cancer,
July Cancer.
I'm a July Cancer.
Yeah,
July 17th.
that's real. Yeah, that's real.
So is that like an emotional? Like our Cancer's emotional?
So traditionally, Cancers. I mean, think of what our symbol is or the sign. It's a crab.
Mm-hmm.
So like
They're
hard
wet.
shell, usually wet.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Again, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
No, but like hard-shelled
Gooey
creatures, soft, gooey inside. So like the
So
Cancer.
you have a hard facade.
Yeah,
but you're
traditionally
like a
we
teddy
put
bear
up like
inside.
a brave face,
Oh.
but really just a giant emotional mess.
Max knows.
Some would say like disaster on the inside. So
All right. Well, I'm giving you an air hug because I feel like that's hug worthy.
Yeah.
Do Cancers want hugs?
during COVID?
No.
I mean, not now. I mean, just
I've
like
hugged you
in
before.
general.
I've known you for like 15 years.
I mean, this
like,
is entirely true. I mean, these are the facts.
Fair.
But
we do have a resident Cancer.
Our producer
Always want
Max.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. Hi, Max.
Like
How
I said,
we do?
You look fun to hug, by the way. Like you look like
he
you
is a
give
great
good
time
hugs.
to hug.
Thank you. I try very hard.
Okay.
He doesn't have to try at all. It's just the gift that keeps on giving. So
meh.
All right. Well,
You
let's
stay
let's.
ready. You don't have to get ready.
You damn right.
that is real.
Damn right.
So,
It's like a Boy Scout. Well, what are you guys? I'm not gonna.
well, I'm an Aquarius. I never really know what that means, but apparently I
means-
really am one.
He's full of ideas, and scheduling is only a thing that lives in his mind. But it gets done every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Can I ask a question about Aquariuses?
Sure.
Do most Aquariuses usually send a text saying "I have a question" and then not actually tell you?
Okay, listen. Yes, I want to go ahead and address this. Okay, before we get into all of this. A long time ago, someone reached out to me and they felt that I was being highly inconsiderate with just sending them text messages requesting things from them. So I believe that I should start with the salutation, and I do not respond until I believe that you are in the space to receive what I am requesting from you. And if you take too goddamn long, okay, I forget. And I just figure it out. And I know that there's a whole bunch of looks that are coming this way right now.
We just talked about this.
But I'm just saying. I am just saying.
I don't
Good
think
morning,
anyone
everyone.
in this room cares. We just know you and love you. So you could just
Appreciate it. Okay, no
shoot
problem.
your shot
No,
110%.
it's great. Like I have unlimited text.
Okay.
So
God damn it, Thomas. No, but what is your sign?
I'm an Aries.
Okay.
We're pretty great.
I would agree with that.
I
And
will
very
s-
humble.
No.
Oh,
Where
That was-
I feel like they don't talk about imposter syndrome being like the number one part of the Aries personality trait. But I feel really confident, and then I start talking, and I'm like, maybe. That's what it's like.
okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well,
all right. So
This
this
is
has
a
been a
solid group.
great podcast. So that's
Just
a
wrap it
wrap,
up?
right?
yeah,
We're-
I mean, yeah, we're done. We're
right.
done. Thank,
Thank
you
you
so
guys
much for your
so
time.
much.
You know, it was great. Well, now that, we've loosened up a little bit, Thomas, if you would like to talk to us a little bit about your background and, just who you are so people can get to know the Thomas Mooneyham.
I'm a Cancer.
Okay, and that's really okay. Great. Okay, well, again, it's a wrap. So thank you, thank you.
No, all right.
Yes.
My name is Thomas Mooneyham. Like I said earlier, I look after the 5 single malt scotches within the Dewar's portfolio. I've been in restaurants in some capacity for almost 20 years now. I think I started when I was 14 or 15. I had a slew of terrible jobs, including Marble Slab Creamery, which is I don't eat ice cream for a reason because I used to have to make it. And Flat Top Grill, where people would make their own food and then scream at me because it didn't taste good.
Oh my God. I remember Flat Top Grill. There was one on like Belmont, and there was also one downtown. My dad would
know
take me there
this.
for lunch, and we would both be like, this was a choice.
I don't know this one.
Oh, Flat Top?
Yeah.
To create your own stir fry restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a bowl, you load up with ingredients, and then you basically give it to the flat top,
Yep.
and then they chop it
Okay,
up.
so
And then they yell at you, Thomas.
Yeah, so there'd be
In-
like a series. You'd have like all your different veggies and then protein options, and most importantly, different sauces.
Oh my God.
Which is where all the flavor comes from. And I would often instruct people how many different ladles of sauce to use, and then I would watch them use no sauce, and then when I would go to touch on the table, they would be very upset because their food was bland and kind of shitty. And I was like 16. And like, I don't want to do this. like,
You're like, this is,
I don't wanna
this
be
is
here.
not a good time.
like,
Well, but you've moved on past that.
no, I actually still
No,
work
because
at-
it really, okay, it's just like, so emotionally you're still there.
I still talk about it a lot, so
Okay,
I don't know.
It's fine.
in-
I'm learning so much about the Cancer characteristics.
Yeah.
This is great. Yeah,
No,
Okay.
I've definitely moved on from Flat Top in many ways.
Great.
So Flat Top is where you cook your own food.
Well, you give it to someone to cook for
so
like
never mind.
liability reasons.
Never mind. So in
But they also
Boston, there's
served
fire and
alcohol.
ice,
Got
which
it.
is like that. So all the food comes on ice, and then you take it over to the fire. I remember. Okay, yeah.
right.
I remember frequently watching people in Boston not use sauce and get upset with this man as well. So, yeah.
It's also really great for getting tips when people make their own food, and then figure like, I just did all the work, which I'm honestly like not arguing. like you did do all the work. Well, I gave you waters and some guidelines.
Yeah, it's like you just had a great time.
Yeah, but yeah.
Sweet.
So from there, I thankfully moved on to different opportunities. Started working in just more classic conventional restaurants with menus and a kitchen.
4 walls.
4 walls,
You know?
you
Yeah.
come, you order your food,
Sweet.
someone brings it to you.
You chew it.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, we can go through every step,
I mean,
but like, I feel
Yeah.
like we don't need to
I
for
feel
the
like
sake
we
of
got it.
time.
Yeah, I feel like we got it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Started working at a little place up in Evanston called the Bluestone, like real, like family run burger beer spot. Really popular on like college football days. We were right down the street from Northwestern's football stadium.
Nice.
I still have like mixed feelings about Ohio State.
I lived in Columbus, Ohio.
So you do too.
Absolutely.
There's some really great bars in Columbus, though.
Yeah, there
What's
were
that
also
area?
some
The
really
Short North.
great people. Yes, I used to live in the Short North.
The Short North is cool. There's a bar, Oddfellows, which is just opened a couple years ago. Really, really cool place.
Nice. I will
Sounds like
say,
I like it.
yeah, and
The name.
Yeah, I feel like Columbus is. It's got a lot going on, and if I hadn't gone there for about 3 years, I wouldn't have known. And I'm not saying like a lot going on. Like, I mean, it's this mecca, but like for what it is, it'll surprise you.
Okay.
So, but
I
I
don't
haven't
really
been
know
back in
Ohio.
years, so
I don't
just
know
say
her,
that. Okay, well,
so.
she out there though. But
Oh yeah, there's a lot of Ohio out there.
I mean, I've
and
driven
they make it
through
very
it,
clear. They
Oh.
make it very clear. Yeah.
but I don't know her.
Don't get me started on a Buckeye.
Okay.
Anyhow.
Yeah, let's move on.
Anyhow. So,
So yeah, I started working at this little burger spot. I served there for years. And then the day after my 21st birthday, we had a bartender who no called, no showed. And they asked if I could just jump behind the bar because I was like legal to do that now, literally by 24 hours. And, just the nature of the place it was, it wasn't a cocktail bar or anything. I learned how to like pour beers and make 5-ounce vodka martinis, shaken obviously with lots of spice chips.
Yeah.
ooh, this is crispy and icy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's 5 or 6 ounces of straight vodka.
Right.
I had a martini
And it
at
costs-
Morton's the other day,
yeah.
and it was the first time I had one in a long time, and it was delightful.
I can't do a martini. It was lay me out
6
on my
ounces of gin. I mean, we couldn't do shit after that. We had a wine flight, and I was like,
ass. No.
Well, I mean, we might get a little bit more into this later when we're talking about like sobriety, but the problem with martinis and the glassware is it's a perfect vessel to just pour an entire 5 ounces straight into your gullet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
sure.
but yeah, so started bartending there. And as soon as I stepped behind the bar, I kind of fell in love with it. I really like having that barrier between myself and guests, and just a little bit more of a creative outlet, a little bit more control of your own environment.
Right.
So from there, I realized that I just want to like keep moving forward in bartending. Worked at a few other places, worked a couple places in San Diego. One of them where I had to dress up like an old-timey cowboy bartender. It was kind of like medieval times, but with
Okay, I think we're gonna
end it there.
try and source
Okay.
that, just for promo content. So I'll follow up
There are
with
probably some photos that exist.
that. Great.
But no, it was a good job actually, and learned a lot about cocktails and cocktail development. And then moved back to Chicago, got a job at Graham Elliott. So this was
Wow. Yeah.
yes.
10 years, more 12 years ago probably.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was 2010, so whatever that is, 11 years.
Last year didn't count.
Oh.
10 years.
Yeah.
I'm so bad with numbers now.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
It's still 2017, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
I have no concept of time. And when people are like, it's 2021, I'm like, I'm 28 still, and I don't know what you're talking about. It's fine. My nephew took the SATs, and that really fucked me up.
Yeah.
But
I hope he did okay.
me too. Sorry.
Where were we?
We were at,
So got a job at Graham Elliott, working the bar there. That was a really great job for a few different reasons. One, it was kind of like during the height of Graham Elliott and his TV show, so it was just a very fun environment to work in.
Yeah.
But two is the first bar that I ever worked at, where it really had like a think outside of the box, like there is no box mentality. When it comes to food and beverage creation.
Sweet.
So that was really cool. And within a short time, me and a couple of the other bartenders were essentially running the bar. We had a beverage director for a while, but it didn't work out. And it was just a really, really, really fun place to be. Looking back, our pastry chef hated me because I would use service as a time to like workshop cocktails. And I would always walk into the kitchen during service and go like, I have an idea, and she'd be like 30 tickets deep, and just be like, you need to leave. Like, like
funny thing about your idea.
Yeah, you know what?
Have it later.
Not now or earlier. Like we're in the middle of service.
time.
Like you have a full bar. What are you doing? Like I wanna work on something.
Just like, is there no people out
Large cancer.
Oh no, we have a full
vibes.
restaurant. Like,
Large cancer vibes.
Yeah.
but yeah, like this is kind of about me right now. So
This would make me feel great if you could help me.
but I look brave while asking.
Yes.
Like,
Max knows.
no, but it was it was a good gig. And yeah, it's like one of the first kind of more high profile spots that I worked at. Left there to help a friend open a place up in Andersonville, and was there for a little while. And one night I was at the Charleston, in my opinion, one of the finest bars in the city, if not
I
the
have not been
country.
to the Charleston in a minute, but damn, I love that
That
place.
it's
I
one
like
of
the
those.
name.
Nice
It's
shout
a
out.
good,
Yes.
good bar, and I was there talking to an old buddy, Clint Rogers, and I just
Clint.
mentioned to him, "Hey, Clint." I was like, hey, so like my time at this project I was working with and kind of consulting on was wrapping up. I'm looking for something different. And at that point, he was running Henri and the Gauge. And he told me, he's like, I think I might have an opportunity for you. Why don't you go and talk to this guy named Billy Lawless? I didn't know that.
Badass name.
He's a badass. Yeah, badass name, badass dude. He's also like 12 feet tall and like just pure muscle, like ex-rugby player, one of the most daunting, terrifying teddy bears in the world.
I'm like
Rugby
6'5",
players are that.
and I feel short.
Yeah, he scares me.
Yeah, so
He once went to like slap me on my back as a like, hey, how are you? And I fell out of my bar stool.
I want to meet this man.
But I went in there and we chatted, and I ended up running the bar at both of his restaurants. I was spending all of my time working the Henri bar, which is like a very small, intimate, French-inspired at the time restaurant, but overseeing the behemoth that is the Gauge next door, which is, doing 1,200 covers in a day. 30 people at the bar at all times.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was very challenging actually to like spend all my time in this like very small, slower moving, intimate place, but oversee this giant bar program. So that, and also I'm not really like a fine dining guy. We talked about poop earlier,
Yeah.
and like at an intimate French
poop.
restaurant,
They did.
everyone does.
Yeah.
Justin didn't
I
want to.
did not partake. It's fine. It's okay.
So Billy and I both agreed that it would actually be better if I just went to the Gauge. And from there, we started doing a lot of cool stuff, a lot of new menus, really started going after like the PR thing. We wanted the Gauge to be known as much for being a bar as it was for being a restaurant. And I think we did a really great job doing that. So I was there for a few years. Won some cool awards while I was there, and then
one of the cool awards.
I was gonna ask.
Chicago's hottest bartender.
2013. That's
Is that
actually
the award that we're talking about. What are we talking about?
No.
Oh damn.
I was thinking like 30 under 30 from
Oh
Zagat's.
yeah. No, I mean, okay. We're gonna get to that, but it's just like that's pretty cool too.
And so because there was like a lot of PR behind the bar program, I eventually got approached by Moet Hennessy to start doing part-time brand work, which was
Sick.
At first, it was a lot of just like working events. So, Chicago Gourmet, Chefs on the Grill.
Was that like a gateway for branding?
Definitely.
That one? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, I mean, that was me sticking my toe in the water of going into brand work. I was 25 or 26 and still very much wanted to be behind the bar. So the part-time thing worked out really, really great. So I was doing that. I ended up leaving the Gauge. I was still doing part-time work with Moet Hennessy. Got a job at Bar de Ville, rest in peace, which was my favorite bar job that I ever had. Just super fun party atmosphere, but like little local neighborhood bar that would turn into complete chaos on weekends with 100 people lines outside. And giant dance parties in the back. And it was
That
great.
gives
It
me
was one of
now.
oh yeah,
Like
that
no.
many people.
COVID, what?
But it was great because like coming from different forms and different levels of like fine dining, it was the first place where I could like tell someone to fuck off.
Yeah.
If I wanted
that's how I feel about my time at L2O, and then also juxtaposing that with small bar.
Yeah.
I'm like the things that I simply cannot say over here. You're damn right that I'm doing it over here, or like on this side.
I'm not allowed to talk to people.
Okay, that's
That's why I work in the kitchen.
that's
And
fair.
working at like Blackbird and Green River and stuff just made it worse.
Okay.
So I wasn't allowed. Well, Blackbird didn't make it worse. Green River made it worse. But
Got it.
like, I shouldn't talk to people, which is why I was confused when Justin was like, "You want to talk to people on the internet?"
You can say anything on the internet.
You can,
entirely
true.
which is why we talked about poop for like an hour.
Fair.
Before
There we
we
go.
got
It's
started.
really weird how this keeps creeping back up again.
Everybody
We're just like-
poops.
That
I
is-
had kimchi and egg for breakfast.
I wasn't gonna go into details.
Yeah, no,
We're going with that.
no, you're fine.
No, there were definitely when I started at DeVille, I definitely like came in hot with the whole say whatever you want mentality, and there were definitely a few times that like my manager and the owner were like, tone it down just a tad. Like, all right, that's actually fair.
And you're like, but I actually meant what I said.
I always mean it.
Well, can I interject with a relevant segue, but also a growth moment? What I learned when I became an executive chef and like dealing with sous chefs, I learned this from my executive chef, Rick Olamacher. Love you. He taught me not to go into a place with what I call the Columbus attitude, which is like you come in and you're like, this is the way that we do it. You have to like learn the culture of the place.
Absolutely.
And then like,
Yeah.
then you can start to interject, but you can't
You mean
Columbus
don't
it.
come in with a colonizer mentality?
Yes.
Oh, shocking. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a white man, that's hard for me.
It's kind of.
Edit that out,
It's
please.
kind of.
I've often been told that I have the personality of a white man, so I understand.
You're like, I understand that. And so Bardeville.
Bardeville was there for a long time, on and off. Like, be there for a few months at a time, for 3 or 4 years. Then I also started doing full-time Moet Hennessy work. We developed a program called the Mixology Ambassador. I hate the word mixology, by the way. And we started it here in Chicago, and it was very successful. So we ended up moving that into 5 other markets.
Sweet.
Left Moet Hennessy to go work for a company called Phillips Distilling. Phillips makes like 400 different marks. I helped lead up their craft program, though.
Wow.
So like Prairie Organic Spirit, like SKUs or
Okay.
items.
Yep.
So I helped lead their craft ambassador program. So Prairie Organic Spirits, Tomatin Scotch, Marca Negra Mezcal. They also make UV Blue and like So
Nice.
I apologize for all the hangovers that sugar juice
Oh my God.
made.
Yeah.
It is delicious.
It is delightful.
UV salted watermelon.
Yo, I used to mix UV
Don't
blue
say watermelon
with
around me because it's a problem.
Vitamin Water 50 and UV Blue make the cocktail called Fabric Softener, and it is
You're welcome
delightful.
for that, Thomas. You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome.
You made that happen.
Not touching it.
Oh, it's
I don't know. I mean, it's in the air, you know, but like, I'm gonna leave it.
It's literally right in the middle of it.
Yes.
But, you know,
I never had the salted watermelon.
It's good.
Okay.
My boss at the time, a woman named Marla. She's actually the one who came up with the idea for salted watermelon, and I always like kind of gave her the like
praise hand emoji.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I realize this is a podcast and you can't see me do that.
Oh, I
but-
do shit like that all the time. You're fine. They can feel it.
Oh,
Maybe so I can feel it. Yes.
so we did that, or I did that here in Chicago for a year, and then they moved me out to LA for a year.
Casual.
10 days after my daughter was born, I had to call my wife and tell her like, hey, so I think we're gonna have to start packing.
Also, your daughter's adorable.
She is. She's really cool.
And an Aries, just saying.
And also,
You're welcome.
she's got an attitude.
Yeah, I mean,
But she's great.
Yeah.
She's great. I'm not tired all the time.
Fair.
So we decided that it was time to start thinking about heading back to Chicago. I had a growing interest in Scotch. One of the things that I really wanted to do is coming from a portfolio ambassador standpoint, where I had to cover lots of different types of liquor. I really wanted to like focus and hone in on one, and I had a huge interest in whiskey. Talked to a few friends of mine over at Bacardi, and they told me that they were hiring for this single malts position. Went through the process, and we actually started moving back, and we bought a house entirely dependent on me getting this job. And
Cocky.
I had, risky. Let's go with risky.
okay.
Our lender was not thrilled at all. Like, he hated me. He's like, so do you have that job yet? Like, no, but can I have like a few $100,000?
Yeah, you're just like, let me hold it.
A
And
taste.
I was
Yeah.
driving back alone with my dogs, and I was in a hotel in Albuquerque, motel, let's be honest, motel in Albuquerque, where you could still smoke cigarettes inside.
Oh,
Shocking.
yeah.
And this was like,
And oddly
this was
year
like
is this?
a few years ago. Like, this wasn't like 1981.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that shocked. Because if I had to think of Albuquerque and I had to think of New Mexico, I would think that that'd be right up in their vibe.
You know, I do remember like walking into the motel room and seeing the ashtray.
Yeah.
And just thinking like, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
seeing,
all right.
seeing the ashtray, feeling the stale smoke that was smoked there prior.
Listen, in
You know?
college, we used to request hotel rooms that allowed smoking so that we did not have to go outside to smoke a spliff in winter because New Hampshire is real.
Fair.
Yeah.
Also, their motto is live free or die. So, like, smoking is probably still allowed in their
I'm
hotels.
sure.
Yeah.
This is true.
Albuquerque's beautiful.
I would love to go.
New Mexico, beautiful state.
Yeah.
Big, a lot of land. Like,
You're like it's spatial.
yeah,
you
not
know?
much else.
Yeah. Lots
And
of room
then,
to
so
shop.
yeah, got back to Chicago, started the job looking after these 5 beautiful and amazing whiskeys,
Amazing.
and been doing it for almost 3 years now. So
Sweet.
that's where we are.
What about this whiskey?
This whiskey, Aberfeldy.
Yes.
So, like I mentioned earlier, within the Dewar's portfolio, we have 5 different single malts. And with Dewar's, we like to say that we don't really have a recipe. We have a standard, and that standard is that all 5 of our single malt whiskeys will go into every bottle of Dewar's blended Scotch. From there, it's up to our master distiller, Stephanie, to hand pick up to 40, 45 different other whiskeys to make sure that every bottle of Dewar's blended Scotch tastes the same.
Oh, wow.
Having said that, Aberfeldy is very much the heart and soul of Dewar's. It's the only distillery that was ever built by the Dewar's family. So that was Tommy and John Jr. and Tommy. And they were the sons of John Dewar, who started Dewar's back in 1846 from a little shop in Scotland. And it's the backbone of our blended Scotch portfolio. Dewar's is known for this kind of noted honeyed richness that you'll find in every sip of it. And if you guys taste Aberfeldy as you just did, you'll notice that it is incredibly honey forward. It's not a sweet whiskey. By law, we can't add sugar or do anything to kind of manipulate the spirit or flavor profile in any way. We're allowed to like mess with fermentation times and casks, but that's really about it. But they just developed this really, really beautiful, smooth, easy drinking, honey forward whiskey. And I like to always tell people, I understand that Scotch can be a abrasive spirit for some people. And I think that's because a lot of people, myself included, like my first experience with Scotch was finding some old bottle of like Lafroig or something at my grandpa's house, blowing the dust off, and it tastes like Band-Aids and cigarettes. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like I love that in a Scotch, like a really peaty Scotch, really smoke forward Scotch. But a lot of people think that's what all Scotch is, and not everyone loves that. But Aberfeldy it doesn't have that peatiness. There's a bit of smoke, but that's just naturally occurring wood smoke in there. And it's a great spirit. I always say it's an excellent bridge whiskey, for people who are already drinking whiskey in some way. So like American, bourbon, rye, Canadian, Irish, and want to learn more about Scotch as a category, start them with an Aberfeldy.
I'm like a rye whiskey person. And I remember the first time I tried Scotch, I cannot remember what kind of Scotch it was, but I was working at Kit Kat Lounge in Boys Town.
I live right around the corner from there.
Excellent place.
Yes. And I called it summer camp when I worked there because it was just for the summer, and I was out. But my friend Phil...
That was me at Flat Top.
You understand.
For 3 years.
My friend Phil saw me as he was going home. He was working at Blackbird at the time, coming out of Kit Kat, and he was like, I need to talk to you about leaving this place. Come to my house and we'll have some Scotch. And I was like, I don't think I like Scotch. And he was like, you're going to learn to like it. So the first time I had it, I was 23. And I was like, this is like drinking a cigar. Whatever it was, Phil Bailey, you should let me know. But I did not enjoy it. And now Scotch is my like jam. Like it's the only liquor that I will have at all times at my house.
Yeah.
And I've never had this until today, and it is freaking delightful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I always say thank you like I played some role, but I don't. But no, I love Scotch. It's an incredibly complex spirit, and it is truly one of those spirits that like you should enjoy slowly and savor it. That highballs, neats, however you want to do it, but like I really like a neat Scotch with a little bit of water in it. It opens it up,
same.
and you could sit there and kind of explore it for an hour, 2 hours with one pour.
Absolutely. And so this has been quite educational, and also thank you so much for enlightening us on your journey. But I do want to shift the tone of the conversation to really talk about the reality here, right? So you are an amazing representative of this amazing brand. However, you were sober.
Yes,
and
haven't always been.
Same here.
Yeah.
And so I do want to preface this next phase of conversation to where obviously thank you again, but there's going to be some things that I believe will come up that could be triggering to some people, and I would just like to put that out there. But I would like to hear about your journey of sobriety, how you got to this point, how you're feeling, and also deeper parts of it. It's just like, how bad did did it get? What kind of made you want to, do differently, if you will?
Sure. I mean, I'm pretty open when it comes to this sort of thing. Alcoholism is something that has run in my family for a while. My dad was an alcoholic. He luckily or thankfully stopped drinking before I was born, but it's something that was always there. Mm-hmm. I love alcohol. I think alcohol is great. I think I might have loved it a little too much. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you think about it, alcohol is there for almost every celebration, in your life, parties. Yeah. Starting at let's say 21. We'll call it 20. Yeah. Yes. Like legal drinking age. Yes. But
I'm Caribbean island again. They literally used to sell the idea of a shandy, which is like 3% alcohol content, as like a beverage for children.
Well, it's gonna help you nap.
I accidentally got lit when I was like, I want to say 9 or 10 by accident, because I had 3 of them at a gathering, and someone had to walk me home. And I was like, why is this a thing?
Because it is, sadly.
So yeah. I'm hoping that it has changed since then in Trinidad. But
I doubt it.
Yeah, I know.
No, but I mean,
around the world,
yes,
alcohol consumption is in some way involved with most forms of celebration throughout the world, or throughout most of the world, from baseball games, birthdays, weddings, and hanging out with your friends,
socializing.
The end of a work week, the end of a work day.
Absolutely.
The
podcast recording.
There you go.
Right.
So I don't want to talk shit about drinking or alcohol. It just took me, probably about 20 years to realize that it just wasn't for me anymore. I've always, or like I said earlier, I've been in the restaurant industry for most of my life. And I do think that, obviously for many reasons, we're exposed to more. We have easier access to alcohol than any other industry I can think of.
Yeah.
And, it's become very common in most places that I've worked at, with the exception of Billy Lawless's place. Having a sip or two on the job after a shift, sitting at the bar when you're counting up your cash for the end of the night, which is hopefully a lot.
Hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Not no flat top money, but
hey, yeah, those $27 a night really added up.
And that's on a Friday, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like 2003, so nowadays it's like $31.
Yeah. Inflation.
Yeah. Thank God for that.
And then, so I always partook. I was always involved in some way for the most part. And being an ambassador, a huge, or at least I thought, and wrongfully so, that a huge part of my job was drinking. Since I stopped drinking, I've met a lot of ambassadors and other beverage professionals who don't drink. Wow. But COVID started. Our jobs were up in the air. The world was on fire. I had a lot of kind of terrible stuff going on in my personal life. And I took what was above average, but semi-normal amounts of drinking to the next level. I kind of hunkered down, didn't really leave my house for a while, Unabombered it, and just, I was drinking way too much for a long time too. I think that when COVID started, everybody had this mindset, or a lot of people had this mindset of like, what, social distance, like 2 weeks, let's flatten the curve, or whatever that, now looking back, bullshit phrase was. Just get drunk for a week or two, and
I
the world. I
convinced myself we would have a bar.
Yeah,
like I was like, I'm about to start a bar in the house, because what the fuck?
Yeah,
it's a speakeasy.
Yeah,
they're illegal.
I'm like training the 10-year-old to be a bartender.
We're gonna go ahead and edit that right out.
I was joking. I'm not gonna let her do that. She's a Capricorn. She's crazy.
Fair.
Doers and Aberfeldy has no part in this.
Thank you. Thank you.
my bosses are out there.
Yeah.
Or the lawyers.
Yeah.
No, but I just I turned to it to something or as something that would just essentially numb me, and I did that for a very, very, very long time. And at first it was okay, and then it just got to the point where I was drinking way too much by myself, neglecting a lot of responsibilities. I mentioned earlier that I do have a daughter, and I wasn't being a good father to her. I was being a terrible employee. And it was probably back in October of last year when I really started thinking that I needed to dry out. And it was not only brought to my attention by myself, but my ex-wife, my mom, certain friends, people who saw me and knew me well.
People who care about
people
you.
who care definitely recognize that I just I wasn't in a good spot, and it was better for me to stop drinking. So when people stop drinking, I don't know anyone who ever stopped drinking on their first go at it. I think a lot of people, myself included, would have like a few weeks and then kind of do this thing of I can have a beer.
Yeah.
And then like 11 days later, I'm like, oh shit.
Right. Or kind of like package it as like, the relapse is like it was just a detox. I was just detoxing.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely did that a few times when I, quote unquote, stopped drinking of like, what? I got it out of my system. It's been a few weeks. Like we can like ease back into it.
Right.
I can drink like a normal person does. And it just doesn't. For people in my situation or similar situations, it just doesn't really work that way.
Yeah. I had an experience a couple of years back with a friend who, when I first moved to Chicago and met him, had been sober for years already. And I worked with him for a couple of years, and then we opened up a hotel together. And I remember the first time the management team went out. We all went out together. We were getting drinks, and I saw him get a drink, and everything in my body tensed up because I went to school for social work, and so you touch a lot of things on that journey, and addiction was one of them. And I remember not wanting to talk to him directly about it, but talk to my boss and be like, this person, what's the deal? And it was really, really, he seemed really fine and good. And a year and change after that, he had relapsed fully into everything that was part of it. So it's you can't, if you have an addictive personality or you're dealing with something that causes you to think about that, it's hard to take away one element of it and say I can do this thing again. And he eventually ended up passing away, and we will never know if it's because of addiction or an accident or whatever. But I try to think of it as also as someone from the Caribbean and dealing with people who are mental illness is not real, and it is about your ability to control yourself. I also think a lot about what my drinking habits look like because of people in my family who refuse to admit that they're alcoholics, but also because they think that it's rooted in strength.
Sure.
And so I'm glad that you talked about the fact that people go back and forth in the beginning or just over the time of dealing with sobriety, because just like depression, you're not fixing it, you're dealing with it every day. And I think some people think that once you've overcome it, that's it.
Yeah, what I realized is that alcoholism and addiction in general, I think, is kind of like a progressive disease. So if you stop for a while and then go back, you're not going to start over. You're not going back to day one, the first time I had a sip of beer. You're going back to day 3,000, whatever. Yeah. That time I drank most of a bottle of whiskey by myself. You don't start with a clean slate necessarily. Like you pick up where you left off. It's like an old friendship in a way. And
I can see that. Yeah.
Like I always say, like a good friend is somebody you don't have to see for a year, and then you can kind of like just pick up right where that conversation left off. And I realized after a few
very Ernest Hemingway-esque.
Yeah.
Terrible alcoholic. Like
yeah.
Horrible.
He has like multiple drinks named after him.
Right.
Yes. But yeah, just I there were definitely a few times that I thought that we can kind of just jump back in and have a beer or have a whiskey. I'm stressed out, let's have one. And then from there just it snowballed. And it took me a few times. I don't think that there's any shame in having a relapse or falling down. I had a boss who told me a long time ago, don't be afraid to fail, but do fail fast. Like it's going to happen.
Wow.
Like if you fuck up, get it over with. Like do it.
I don't know how I feel about it, but I like it.
Yeah. Well, I just, if I may, really quickly. So, I mean, as I've always mentioned here with terms of service, we are not a sober platform. We are a sober forward platform. And so we didn't necessarily want to enjoy the product because we are very familiar with it, but we do want to respect the conversation. And so we have this beautiful like Rob Roy that's
Manhattan
inspired
variation.
that is inspired by Aberfeldy, and it's
quite delightful.
It's very unique. I don't drink Rob Roy's, but I'm familiar with the flavor profile, and this makes me feel like it makes me feel like it's doing what I would expect it to do if it was doing the other thing.
The Rob Roy is a very delicious and classic cocktail. For lack of a better phrase, it's a Scotch Manhattan.
Yeah.
So it's Scotch, sweet vermouth. Here we're using a non-alcoholic spirit and Lapsang Souchong tea.
Yes,
so
and this is
kind of brings in that subtle smokiness that you would find in a Rob Roy. It's delicious.
For
it
sure.
is delightful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley Christine. And so there's something that I also want to mention because I'm really, we've known each other for quite some time, Thomas. And so I just want to say that I think your journey has been just super inspiring to me personally, because there have been times to where I've had to take the hard look in the mirror to be like, Justin, bro, what the fuck are you doing? And specifically, this was a couple years ago. I met at a spot downtown for like my dad's birthday, and it was just like, family friends were there, and I love me some mezcal. That is just the fact of the matter. A mezcal Negroni is my shit. And so I
didn't know that was an option.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah.
But anyhow, and so
They're good.
Yes.
I'm gonna.
Yes. Nuri was writing that down. And so when I got home, I'll never forget that I was walking up the stairs. I live in a 3-flat, and I'm on the top level. And as I was getting up to the landing before my place, I tripped because I was blitzed out of my mind. Thankfully, it was winter. It was December specifically. Happy birthday, Dad. And I was wearing...
Is it the 25th? It's your dad?
No.
Jesus?
No.
That dude, he was born in April.
And
March.
Yes.
May? Question mark? Jesus.
There's a lot of
He's
question marks there.
figure. It's
right.
fine.
And
He had blonde hair.
Okay.
he had dreads, okay? Yeah. She had dreads. So, but anyhow, coming up to the final landing, and I trip over my own big ass feet because these are just the facts. But thankfully, I'm wearing this like thick top coat. I fall so heavy into the window to where like I go through the window and all of the glass is like if I wasn't wearing that coat, totally could have just like ended up going to the hospital and so on and so forth. And the following morning, my neighbor was just like, Justin, did you hear like that crazy like crashing last night? I was like, oh no, girl, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Someone tried to break in. Be safe.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, use the buddy system. I was like, I have no idea what happened. And
I'm just picturing like a shard of glass in your neck.
No,
though.
like literally,
you're like bleeding out.
Literally,
I have no idea.
Literally. And so, I can talk and joke about it now, but it was so terrifying to me because I realized that I was lacking a sense of self-control. And what has been great with just reducing my level of consumption and being familiar with, different spirit-free options, it has helped me regain just like that element of my lifestyle. Because as you touched upon earlier, alcohol is so accessible to those in this industry. And, I think it's really important for people outside of this industry to understand that. And just like anything else, and maybe more than a lot of things, it's stressful. Like there are super points of stress within the context of this industry that fuel coping mechanisms such as alcoholism, such as drug abuse. I mean, there are things that I won't get into specifically, but it's like as you're getting fucked up and you're on the downward slope, kind of got to pick it up again, and like it just goes round and round, sadly. And yeah, it's just like it's great to be able to talk so openly about this, because I want people to know that, I mean, not drinking, reducing, your level of consumption, that is fine, and you don't have to explain that to anyone ever.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I feel like I used to drink a lot, and then I started working in fine dining kitchens, and as a woman, I learned that if I wanted to make it, I would have to go out with the guys after work. And that's when my drinking went up significantly. But like the use of drugs to counteract the amount of drinking also went up. And I think once leaving food and this past year of being in quarantine, I can't drink like I used to. Right. And I think that putting it into perspective,
because it becomes dangerous as well.
Yeah, I was like putting it into perspective. I was like, I am a social drinker because I won't drink by myself, and I think that
I will.
I realized that in the beginning of quarantine, I was drinking by myself, and I didn't like it because I couldn't do anything, and I think by the end of this situation, now I'm like 2 glasses of wine, time to go to sleep. Like that's where I'm at. Yeah. So, and for me, I think I try to think about it a lot because of like all of the people in my family who are like, I'm fine with drinking, but as a person on the outside, I'm like, no, you're not. And I try to like put that lens on myself a lot to be like, am I good? Like checking in with myself all the time. Yeah. But I feel like one of the other components of that is if you are thinking about it,
right,
you're probably more likely to do something about it than not.
Yeah, and that was a kind of, I don't want to say last straw, but it was a big wake up call for me, specifically because I was like, dude, you could have like really hurt yourself. And I had no idea what was going on. Like, just because at a certain point you just go on autopilot, right? Like you have no idea how you made it to your sofa. You have no idea how you made it on the floor. You had no idea how you just passed out in the bedroom, bathroom, or wherever. It's because like your subconscious is like, well, I mean, we got to get you to where you're going, but you have no recollection of it. And I was like, that is fucking terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that everybody who has had an issue with drinking, be it casual or not, has had some story, maybe not necessarily almost fell through a window, but
yeah, that was,
everybody has a story.
Yeah.
Where like looking back, I have many where I should have realized
like the warning signs.
Yeah, like maybe I should have, toned it down years ago.
Yeah.
But
Are
I
you
didn't.
comfortable sharing any of those?
Nothing
signs
really concrete comes to mind, but I was married and I woke up on the couch a lot and not even having any like real recollection of like why. And then we would talk and I realized like, oh, I was just being a dick and I was drunk. And like as a kid I used to get in a lot of fights. I was a graffiti writer for a long time, and I broke my leg because I was drunk and running on train tracks.
Okay, Thomas.
And just weird shit. But like looking back, for years, so many of the negative parts of my life, or like negative days or dark days, alcohol definitely played a role in them. And again, I work for a liquor company. I think that drinking, if you're able to do it moderately, is great. It's outstanding. It's an awesome way to relieve stress.
Yeah.
But a lot of people drink to get drunk.
Yeah. How do you balance that?
What do you mean?
Being sober and also being an active participant in, selling and placing these products.
It turns out I'm much better at my job, sober. I always took pride in my job. I've always been pretty good at what I do. I know a lot of people in the industry and in the city, and I consider myself to be a pretty good ambassador. But when it started to spiral, my numbers were definitely going down. And that's just because I wasn't really doing my job. And the balance, we all have our bars that we go to. I think everybody can kind of count their bars on one hand of their go-to places.
Yeah.
Right.
And my job is to be in as many bars as possible, but like I'm talking like the places that I spend a lot of time at. And when I stopped drinking or started trying to stop drinking, I talked to all of my good friends who work at these bars or own these bars, and just said, I was really nervous about it. I thought that I would be judged, or people would give me a hard time,
because
or
it
like
feels
not
like that.
Right.
or like not take me seriously. And so many places, the bartenders, as soon as I would walk in, they would give me the kind of like international symbol of like shot.
Yeah.
And I learned that I really didn't have to do anything more than say like no.
Yeah.
And nobody asked questions. The few people that I did go into a little bit more in depth with, half of them looked at me like, yeah, like
Yeah.
probably yeah.
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 All right.
It's just like, okay, we're good here.
Yeah. So, I'm in a unique position because my job is to still spend a lot of time in bars and restaurants, and it feels so natural just to have that whiskey in front of you. But, I now have a running tally in my head of which bars have that good soda water.
Yes.
Like who has a good NA beer.
Yeah.
And I found that, for me, and it's going to be different for anyone in, a similar position though, for me, it was just about being open and talking to people and just saying, like, you know what? I don't drink. I don't have to go into details. Why?
No.
Not at all.
That's my journey. It's my path. It's not yours, but
That's awesome.
I just don't want the whiskey anymore.
But
For sure.
literally,
But I
like,
do want the whiskey.
Yes.
Because Aberfeldy single malt scotch is an award-winning.
and it is delightful.
Yes.
Keep
Yes.
going with
Let's get that placement in there. Absolutely.
No, but it's just the balance. There have been times that it's been an issue. I found that what's harder for me, and the thing that I still deal with, isn't really sitting in a bar and the bars I go to, the people I talk with are friends.
Yeah.
They're people that I can just sit across from and have a genuine conversation with. Yeah. Granted, for many of those years, that conversation was over whiskey, but turns out they're still my friends. They still want to have conversations, and they want to see me do better. Yeah. So that hasn't been the issue. The issue for me, and I'm sure it always will be, just because it's so ingrained in me, is what I consider like habitual drinking. Happened again the other day where, I put my daughter to bed, cleaned up my place, did the dishes, I'm wrapping up my night. And one of my first thoughts was like, oh, time for that whiskey. And didn't have like a physical craving, didn't have like an emotional trigger, nothing. It was just that, for years, I would wrap up my day by having a few whiskeys, and it still lingers in the back of my head. But I just have to remember, like, no,
that's me for cigarettes.
Go play video games. Sure, yeah, cigarettes are when I quit smoking cigs, it wasn't necessarily like a stressor for me. It was, sitting in my car with the train going by, like, and that was a great time to light up.
Bus stops, waiting for the bus, walking to or from anywhere. That was my thing. But now I got my handle.
I got the same thing.
Yeah. And it keeps me from murdering.
Yeah. No, I used to say I smoke for the safety of others. Like.
Oh, that's what I have weed for.
Sure.
There you go. So, I want to ask, just on the brand side, is there, like, do you feel like brands, yours, specifically, are doing enough to promote a balanced lifestyle within the industry?
Yeah, I do. And I also, I've said it before, but I also do want to give quick shout out to Bacardi and Team Enterprises. Yeah. Because they were one of the first who brought it to my attention. And, my old boss, she's since moved on, but she was the one who sat me down, via phone. Yeah. And just said hey, you need to think about yourself. Do you want to take some time and kind of clean up? So I went on leave for a while. And Bacardi has been amazing through all of this. Dewar's is owned by Bacardi. If we didn't make that clear.
People.
Yeah. So when I'm referencing Bacardi or Dewar's, one and the same. Do I think that brands are doing a lot? I've noticed it over the last few years, and I think that one of the first times I ever saw a health and wellness initiative is at Tales of the Cocktail in 2014, 2015, where back then I was still obviously drinking heavily, but some of the guys from Employees Only and a few other bars put together a morning, early morning yoga activation, and then people would drink fresh squeezed juice after. And it was the first time I saw something at Tales that wasn't 100% about drinking. Yeah. And I mean, admittedly, I saw that flyer and went 7 a.m. Are you out of your fucking minds?
Right.
That's how I felt today.
No. I'm gonna be drinking till 6. So
yeah, you're
I'm good.
Yeah, you can keep that hour.
But I mean, since then, I've talked to a lot of ambassadors from other suppliers, so Diageo, Pernod. I'm with Bacardi, and so many brands have something in place. Yeah, we with Aberfeldy, we have a program called Barrels and Bees, where because of how honey forward this whiskey is, we partner with local beekeepers and educate local or bartenders on honey keeping, the plight of the honeybee, how important they are.
You better save the bees.
Yeah, we need to save these goddamn bees.
Yeah, and we need to start fucking that shit
they have problems we have problems.
Oh, I know. The fucking
we're not gonna have
tree debacle.
Food.
That is a whole different episode, but yes.
I'll come back for that one.
Yes. Yes.
I got shit to say about bees.
Yes.
But, I'm trying to find ways to turn that into a healthier activation. Let's go camping. We'll set up a cocktail station. If you want to make yourself a honey forward cocktail with different local honeys, juices, blah, 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 let's do that. But it doesn't have to be. I mean, I was a bartender and a buyer for years, and so many of the events and activations that ambassadors held was really let's just have happy hour together.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that,
Right.
you know, but I've been to so many of those events, and I think that a lot of these brands out there want to do something different. And one thing that I've noticed is, especially since COVID, people are focusing more and more on health. And so not only do brands want to do something a little healthier, bartenders want to be healthier, servers want to be healthier. So let's go for a hike. Let's go fishing. You know, I'll talk about Aberfelding until your ears fall off.
Sorry.
Jesus.
Oh my
Sorry.
God, Nariba.
I'm sorry. The scotch was warm.
Carry on.
Why?
Tom. Why?
All right, so that was a great podcast. I'm gonna get out of here.
No, you're good.
Jesus.
We're
I can taste your breakfast.
Everything
My
is
face
fine.
is warm.
No,
It's
we're
fine.
good.
Yeah. It's all good.
But yeah, I have noticed that a lot of companies are trying to focus more on health.
I'm gonna drink this
You know,
penicillin.
we're responding to what consumers
Spirit
want.
free.
You know, yes.
Yes.
We're responding to consumers, and consumers want to be healthier.
Right.
Ambassadors want to be healthier. You know, a lot of ambassadors are from like the same generation. A lot of us are the same age. We all bartended together. We all hung out at bars together. I'm 34 years old, you know, so are a lot of my friends, if not older. And, you know, we want to be healthier and we want to take care of ourselves. And, you know, wellness is important, both, you know, mental, physical, emotional. And, you know, it took me 34 years to realize that.
Well, and also I think it's nice finally, you know, there's a point to where, you know, it was celebrated being, you know, the asshole in the bar, just like I'm a trash human being, and
Yeah,
so
the
on and
dumpster
so
fire
forth.
culture
You know,
for many
just,
years.
Yeah, and I always thought that shit was so tired, and I felt like certain personalities could get away with that, because I was kind of part of their whole, you know, their whole vibe. But anyhow, I'm happy to see not only you specifically, but others in the industry understanding that, you know, like becoming more hospitable to themselves.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to just being like, oh, well, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna make my money. You know, it's like fuck everyone else all day, every day.
I mean,
and so
I feel like we have seen it because we surround ourselves with people who have the same forward moving trajectory, but
Right,
out
that's
there
not
in the,
always
it's not the
reality.
reality. And
Yeah.
I think that, like, I'm very excited at how much easier it is to go out and, like, not have to, you know, ask about having an NA beverage because they have them on menus now.
Yeah.
But I feel like
Got a ways to go.
specifically in fine dining, it is expected of you to, like, do whatever your bosses are doing to, like, make that connection and make that growth happen. And I am excited for a day where it does not come around alcohol to do that. But I think that, like, we are talking about a reality we want to see versus what is actually happening.
I
I
can
think to
agree.
remind people to, like,
The work
move
still
that
needs to
energy.
be done.
Yeah, it still needs to be
Yes,
done.
Still needs to be done. And with that, Thomas, what are some resources that exist to help the industry with, you know, coping mechanisms, addiction, abuse? Are you familiar with any? You know, because we'd love to hear that. And if not, then, you know,
What would
if
you
any,
like to see?
yeah, what would you like to see?
Well, myself and a few friends who are also in the industry, who I'm not going to name, but are also sober, have definitely talked about trying to start some kind of like industry support group. There are things out there, but honestly, I think everybody in the industry probably knows at least one person who stopped drinking or stopped using. And talk to that person, you know, ask them what their journey was. Part of this is, you know, part of cleaning up is like what a lot of us refer to as like acts of service. And one of those is definitely like helping other people out, you know.
Community.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that I did. You know, I have a very, very close friend of mine who runs a very successful bar here in Chicago. And He got sober a little over a year ago, and when I started on this path, he was one of the first people I reached out to. And then also my old boss, he won't mind being named. He's very active in the sober community, but Billy Lawless from The Gauge has been sober for 24 years.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. And I called him crying back in October, and he told me, like, sober up, call me tomorrow.
Yep.
And he's been there for me every day since. I talked to him 5 times a week probably. If you told me when I started working for Billy, at some point, like, I'm gonna need you. But I mean, we're out there. We're not that rare. We aren't the unicorns that people make sober industry folk out to be.
Right. Talk
to your friends. And then, I mean, the other huge thing for me, and it's classic and cliche, but I go to AA meetings, you know, and one of the things that they really, really help with is when I get anxiety or like really stressed out thinking about some of the terrible things I've done, I hear that guy's story and then like, oh shit, like, all right, we're all kind of degenerates in our own way, and I will say, I know a lot of people are hesitant on AA. It sounds like a cult. They use the word God a lot. And I'm not a religious person in any way.
Well, it's because you were raised Catholic.
I was raised Catholic, so I'm not religious.
Yeah. Same.
I also think for myself. But
sorry, Mom.
Yeah. Whatever. She's not religious either.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm talking about my mom.
Sorry, Grandma. But she's old. She's not listening. She doesn't know what podcasts are. But, if you're hesitant about that aspect of it, I would say don't be. I was talking to someone in one of my first days and just saying, like, I don't like this whole God thing. They're always telling you to, like, rely on God, turn to God. And he goes, man, I don't believe in God. I do believe in GOD, group of drunks. So I rely on this group of drunks to help me. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, that's tight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just look past that aspect. Also, my phone number is 847-602-1239. Call me up, send me a text. I've gotten a few texts lately about people who just want to, start on that journey. And I'm not far in, but if you have questions, hit me up, do
That's
it.
fucking amazing.
Email is thomasmooneyham@gmail.com.
Goddamn.
I got really original when I put that email together.
You nailed it. To go to a bathroom and take a picture of your number in a stall and text you.
It's there. You'll find it. There are. There's some.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You're like there.
No, but
there
I mean,
are ways to find.
Hit me up. Talk to your friends. It's
Perfect.
There's a big support structure out there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I want to cheer. Well, I want to do an air cheers to that.
Because we're still in a panorama.
A patriotics, if you will. Yes, air cheers with this beautiful penicillin, spirit-free penicillin. Yes.
The is it pronounced lapsang? Okay. Ashley spritzed my hand with it earlier, the tea. And it's like the same like peaty bits as the scotch, but it makes it so delightful. I like
this.
Yeah.
I love a penicillin.
Penicillins are, in my opinion, like one of those great examples of a true modern classic. Like penicillin's been around for like 14 years, 15 years or something. It was invented by Sam Ross in New York in the early 2000s.
It's been around for as long as we've known one another.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
I thought it would be it had a longer history.
It's a modern classic. It's like the paper plane.
Penicillin has been around longer than that.
The penicillin.
They did. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And also,
I was trying to make a dad joke.
The other penicillin, our producer is allergic to, but sorry, Max.
Yeah, don't get sick, homie.
Don't get sick, Right. Okay. There you go. Yeah.
He's like actively dying from
right. He's like I'm doing my best.
I'm okay.
Right.
We have 31 more hours.
He's laying down.
Right. But yeah, I'm rarely ever speechless, but above all else, like I'm extremely thankful for this conversation. Like, yeah, I just.
Would you say you needed it like some penicillin? No.
I would say that.
I'm gonna go.
See, and on that, it's a wrap, right? But before we wrap, I want to again thank you. I want to thank our friends over at Ritual Beverage and also the amazing folks at Just Ice, and always and forever Blind Barber for hosting this necessary conversation.
110.
Our beautiful producer Max. Thank you.
He's not actually dying.
Yeah, he's actually doing great.
He looks healthy.
Yes. He's ready to go. Bada bing, bada boom. And then Ashley Christine of Garnet. Yes, sorry. Pardon me. I just had another sip of this delicious penicillin. And
It's an NA cocktail.
Yeah.
yes, the spirit-free beverage over here. And on that note,
Wait,
yes.
what about our scotch?
Yes, I was getting to that right now.
Okay.
And on that note, I want to thank Aberfeldy for being a part of this conversation as well. And I am Justin Arnett Graham, and you can find me on Instagram, which is What's Beco, WHATSBECO.
And this is Nariba Shepherd. Forgot how to introduce myself for a second. And you can find me at Rebaru, REBARU, on Instagram as well.
And where can we find you, Thomas?
You want my address?
Oh well,
Oh,
I mean,
shit,
No.
just on the social world,
Thomas Mooneyham, Instagram. Again, I got really creative. It's just my name.
Great.
Thomas Mooneyham.
Sweet.
MOONEYHAM. I know it's a silly last name.
Before we go,
It's a
I just need
dynamite
to
last
tell you out loud, you look exactly like my best friend Mark. And I've been
Is he
trying.
handsome as shit?
You guys look exactly the same, except he's a ginger. That's the only difference.
So like not.
He's adorable. He's like strawberry milkshake.
Oh
You're more like a espresso latte.
Thank you. All right.
Yes. Well, and on that note,
Yeah, sorry.
peace.
Bye.
Thank you guys.